Hi, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor, America's first licensed astrologer, and I'm here with my March 2019 Trumpology report, which, as many of you know, is my forecast for Trump and for the United States. So let's jump right into it. I have a lot to tell you. And I want to boil it down so that it's just real simple to understand. And I hope you enjoy it. All righty. Well, first of all, this month, the sun, the giver of life, the center of our lives, it's where we live our actual life for a certain period of time. This month, Trump has the sun in his seventh house of partnership. Now, the seventh house deals with business partnership, personal partnership. So we're talking about Melania. We're talking about contractual arrangements, business arrangements that he has with other people. The seventh house is also the public. It deals with the lower courts. So it is the court of public opinion. And the sun lights up the area it's in. So it's in the house of relationships. And of course, right now, Trump is in Vietnam having a conference with Kim Jong-un. Today is February 26th, 2019. And so as a result of this and the conference, and of course, the sun being in his seventh house, other people call the shots. They determine his actions. Now, I want you to notice that I have included his 10th house planets and his 4th house planets. Why? Because on the new moon, well, it's more than just the new moon, while the sun is in his 7th house of open enemies, relationships, and everything I just described to you, it's squaring his 10th house, Sun, North Node, and Uranus. The 10th house is our public image. It's our career. So because of other people, his career is threatened. It squares the 4th house of home, family, and real estate, South Node, and the moon. And so there is what we call a T-cross formed. The empty arm of that T-cross is the 1st house. And so because of other people firing the first shot, Trump reacts. And that's simply what is. Okay, now, the new moon, which is on the 6th, on the new moon, energy starts moving forward. And so while he's having this meeting with Kim Jong-un now, once the moon starts growing, all of his relationships will begin to move forward. The new moon is very interesting because it is in 15 Pisces 47. Find that in your birth chart because that's where their energy starts moving. However, transiting Neptune is also right there. Not necessarily at 15 Pisces 47, but 15 Pisces. And so there is an element of wishful thinking, of perhaps subterfuge, of confusion, all of that going on with this new moon. And so the energy is starting to move on the 6th and everything's moving forward. And there can be frustration for Trump because of the empty arm of the T-cross. Now, as the month moves forward and the moon starts growing and building, it comes to a head on the 20th in 0 degrees of Libra. Wherever you find 0 degrees of Libra, it's literally 0 degrees, 9 minutes of Libra. In your birth chart, that's where the full moon will occur. And that's when things come to a head. So the seeds are planted on the new moon and they bear fruit on the full moon. In Trump's chart, the full moon sits on his Neptune. Neptune, as I mentioned, can be make-believe, deception, seduction. In the second house of money, that's how Trump earns his money. Neptune rules alcohol, nicotine, caffeine. It rules the movies. It co-rules art and music and beauty of all types. However, have you ever tried to grab a handful of smoke? Neptune rules smoke. That's how elusive Neptune is. And in Trump's chart, Neptune rules his 8th house of other people's money. Very, very interesting. Speaking of the 8th house, let's get back to the sun's motion. The sun starts off in his 7th house and then on the 14th moves into his 8th. Now, that's other people's money. It's taxes. It's debts owed. It's money through litigation. It's secrets. It's psychic ability. It's transformation. And so the sun sheds a light on, and some of you are thinking, I can hear it now, taxes. Are we going to see his taxes? Probably not. Probably not. But this deals with all secrets that come about as a result of relationships. And so with the full moon sitting on his Neptune right here, there can be some financial secrets that come to light. All that to say, yes, there can be. The possibility is definitely there. Now, there are 3 cosmic events that occur on the 6th of the month. And I want to describe them to you. I've already described one of them, the new moon. It's on the 6th. And the moon rules function and form. And I've repeated it here because I'm going to describe the 3 cosmic events, celestial events. So the new moon in his 7th house is the first one. And his relationships start moving forward and he responds. There's the T-cross. He responds to others' accusations, overtures, etc. But remember, Neptune is involved with that new moon. I always say, if Neptune is involved, dig a little deeper, get a little more information, and check the fine print. Okay, that's the first. The second event is Mercury goes retrograde. And many of us feel this about a week ahead. So Mercury goes retrograde on the 6th. Actually, it goes stationary. It quits moving on the 5th and starts its retrograde or backward movement on the 6th in 29 Pisces. And so just when you think you have finished up the lesson of service, Mercury goes retrograde and says, oh, there's some loose ends to tie up. And in Trump's case, dealing with other people's money. Story of his life, right? And so Mercury retrogrades, goes backwards. We don't start new projects on a retrograde Mercury for obvious reasons. We have to tie up the loose ends of unfinished projects. When Mercury goes direct, which it will on the 28th and 29th of the month, then we can launch new ventures. Okay, Mercury is in the 8th house of other people's money and taxes and litigation, money through litigation as a result of litigation. But it backs up on the 15th and retrogrades into the 7th house of other people, of the court, of contracts, relationships of all type, and the court of public image, public opinion, public view. When Mercury goes direct in his 7th house, he will have been able, at that point, to tie up the loose ends of unfinished relationships and contracts, whether with international leaders or just with perhaps court allegations. And then it will move forward. Now, keep in mind that the new moon triggers this T cross. So does Mercury. And so there's a lot of energy coming from other people that causes Trump to react. The third cosmic event is that the planet Uranus, which has been in Aries, you know, that do it now, do it my way, Aries, moves into Taurus on the 6th. And it's a totally different energy in Taurus. Now, Uranus is the rebel, the renegade, the one that says, let's get out, let's just move out what's already been and introduce something new and innovative. Uranus rules electronics and electricity, metaphysics, astrology. It's in his 9th house of foreign relationships, principles, long distance travel. And so there may be some new approach that he takes in his relationships with other people, foreign dignitaries, foreign leaders. We'll have to kind of watch and wait and see. Okay. Now, there's a little more that I want to share with you. In March, Mars, the planet of action and energy, is in his 9th house. And wherever Mars is, that's what comes first to you. So it's been in his 9th house of foreign travel, foreign leaders, higher education, international trade. And on the 22nd, it moves up to his midheaven, the very top of the chart, and moves into his 10th house of his career. And this is the time that he is going to be putting more of his ambitions into action for the world to see as regards his career. You might say, will he be doing more campaigning? Most definitely, more campaigning. He's going to want more attention. His energy, his action, his public image is, I'm doing it now, I'm tough, and let's get it done. And that's the first aspect. Venus, love and money and beauty, is in his 6th house of work, health, and service. This is lovely from a standpoint of employees or work, because Venus is the lesser benefic. It brings love, it brings happy times. And so there can be happiness in the White House with the people he has hired. That would be beautiful. So there's a certain enjoyment that he finds in his job. On the 26th, Venus enters that 7th house of other people and brings a loving tone to all of his relationships. That's really wonderful. And we'll hear about it because he will share it. This means that he's getting a really nice response from other people. And so that can absolutely inspire him to take a greater stand publicly. Now, Pluto, total change, total transformation. Very, very interesting. Pluto is sitting on his vertex, not just this month, but all year. The vertex is our karmic role in life. It's the point over which we have no control. It's in the 5th house of children. He's got a bunch of them. And so his role with children can undergo a transformation. And that's Pluto. His approach might totally change. The 5th house is fun and games. It is entertainment of all sorts. It's sex. It's fun. And so his whole approach to those, to that arena of life, which has been one of control, is now going to undergo, or can undergo, a transformation. I cannot imagine what that would be, but it involves his role with kids and with gambling and speculation, and as I said, sex and fun. Now, in addition, Pluto opposes Saturn, not just this month, but all year. And in 2020, it opposes his Venus as well. Pluto is all or nothing. Saturn in the 11th wants to be the leader in all groups. Well, he has a big group that he deals with. It's not just his party, it's Congress. And so Pluto, because of his karmic role, I don't know how this ties in with it, Pluto opposes Saturn, and an opposition has you pulling away from friends, group activities. Saturn rules the interception in his 5th house of children, of speculation. It rules his 6th house of work, health, and service, and his 7th house of contracts and the public and relationships. And so he is pulling away on some level. I can't imagine what. With Congress, with his friends, and as a leader in his groups. As the year moves along and Pluto opposes Venus, this is a little different. Saturn is loyalty, Venus is love, and so this has him pulling away from those relationships where he has not found love and or loyalty. Venus rules his 3rd house of his thinking and his 10th house of his career. So any group that involves his career, there's a pulling away from that because he cannot control it. Okay. I've got notes galore, but I think I'll stop here before everybody gets all confused, including me, because I have so much to share. Now I want to talk about the United States chart. Okay. And as we look at the chart of a country, the houses take on a different meaning because there are millions of people involved, so it's on a much larger scale. I'm getting there. Bear with me. Here we go. Okay. I want to be able to, here we go. I want to be able to give you as much information on the mundane houses, the houses in the United States charts as I can. And I've got that information here. We start off the month of March with the sun in the 10th house of the president and the Republican Party, because this is the party in power. The 4th house is the party out of power. This is also our public image, we Americans, our public image in the world. It represents the presidency, the president, and of course, all of our leaders. Now, on the 4th, the sun moves into the 11th house of Congress. And let me just go over everything that 11th house deals with. Congress, congressmen, the Treasury, friends, groups of people, congressional groups, committees, all right? The new moon on the 6th, again, is conjunct transiting Neptune. So there is a certain amount of confusion or obfuscation going on with this new moon. We're not going to be getting the information clearly and concisely necessarily, or there may be something left off or left out. But the new moon is in our 11th house of Congress and committees, and wherever the new moon falls, that's where the energy starts moving forward. Isn't that cool? And there it is in the hands of Congress. The full moon is on March 20th in the 5th house of children, fun, sports, gambling, theaters, congressional hearings and public hearings. Isn't this interesting? Teachers and sports arenas. So it's fun and games. When a full moon falls in this area, matters ruled by this area come to a head. We've had teachers' strikes lately. Of course, we are concerned with our children. By the way, the 11th house deals with stepchildren. And whenever I think of children, I think of those children who were ripped out of the arms of their mothers and fathers when they came into our country illegally. And I personally will not be able to relax on that subject until and unless every child is returned to its mother. It's a mark on us. We must return those children to their parents. But I digress. So the full moon here can help with children. Yes. Now, let's talk about the 3 cosmic events that we have on the 6th. The new moon is the one I mentioned. It's in the 11th house of Congress and groups. Really lovely. Mercury goes retrograde and direct in the 11th house. So this might be a time of rewriting bills that need rewriting. There have been a lot of changes made in this during this presidency. And now that we've had a new Congress, there are changes that will be made in not just the structure of the committees, but the subjects coming before those committees with Mercury retrograde from the 6th. Now we're going to feel it on the 1st until the 28th. Let's just give it till the 29th. And then things will move forward a lot more smoothly. Now, Uranus moves from Aries into Taurus on the 6th. And it's in the 12th house. This is very, very interesting because the 12th house, as many of you know, deals with behind the scenes activities and action. It deals with spies and bribery, with hidden enemies. We're not talking about our open enemies. That's the 7th house. Putin, Kim Jong-un, they're 7th. It's the ones we don't know we have. And this can be the enemy within as well, which is always interesting. So let's see here. It deals with jails and hospitals and criminals, charitable institutions, secret societies, slavery of any type, and welfare. You might say, we don't have slavery. Oh, some of those children, don't get me started again. Where are they? What are those teenage girls doing? I'm just asking. Okay, so there's Uranus going into Taurus. Now, Uranus and Aries. Think of Uranus conjunct Mars. That's how you can visualize it. It's explosive. It's incendiary. It wants what it wants when it wants it, which is now. Uranus in Taurus says, let's take it slowly but surely. Let's move it along slowly and make sure that things get done. And with a certain amount of excitement and enjoyment, because we're thinking of Uranus conjunct Venus. Okay. Now, remember that Uranus is in the 12th. Here's the rest of what's going on. Uranus in the 12th. Mars is in the 12th. Mars is action. It's anger, it's fury, it's passion in the 12th. So there's Uranus ready to break things free, and Mars in Taurus saying, out of my way. Let's get this done now. And so the focus is going to be on the 12th house, and we're not going to know it. We're not going to be told what's going on. Now, I think the 12th house and the 8th house combine to deal with leaks, because there's always a leak somewhere from the White House. And so there's Mars saying, I'm going to take this anger and I'm going to use it constructively. And I want to share something with you that's going to move us into April for a second, but it's really exciting to me. Mars is in Taurus. On the 31st of March, Mars moves into Gemini. And Gemini is so different from Taurus. When it moves into Gemini, it's going to move forward to the ascendant. The United States chart that I use is the chart that has 7 Gemini, 48 on the ascendant. And it has Uranus in 8 Gemini, 53 on the ascendant. You get Mars sitting on Uranus, and you have a fire, you have an explosion. It is like having Uranus in Aries. I call that my get on your Harley and ride aspect. I get it, my shot out of a cannon aspect. And so the energy right now in the United States is hidden and perhaps suppressed. Once Mars goes into Gemini, the world is going to start feeling it. Everybody's going to start feeling it. Let's say you have your moon in 15 degrees of Gemini. When Mars goes into Gemini, because you have a planet there, you will feel the energy change more so than someone who doesn't have any Gemini in their chart, especially if you have the sun, moon, or ascendant in Gemini. I hope I'm being clear. Don't you worry if I'm not. Let me just repeat. As Mars in April moves up to the ascendant and then sits on Uranus, the public is going to explode. Not necessarily negatively, but it's an action-oriented public. The first house deals with the attitude and the political mood of the people. It also deals with public health. And so we're getting active, not in March. Mercury's retrograde in March, but in April. Okay, let's keep going. Venus, the planet of love and beauty and money, is sitting in our 9th house and bringing open door policy, bringing love to our foreign relationships. And I'm thinking of Trump right now in Vietnam with Kim Jong-un saying how they just love each other. And I'm thinking, well, I know that Trump loves him. Venus says to me, yeah, it could be reciprocal for whatever reason. Now, before I even get into the 9th house, I want to go to the cusp of the 9th house because I have Saturn and Pluto sitting on the 9th cusp, not just during March, but all year. Let me remind you of what the 9th house rules. The upper courts, okay, the Supreme Court, foreign travel, foreign trade, religion, science, insurance, world trade, I've mentioned that, universities, higher education. I'm thinking of tuition. I'm thinking of our policies. Saturn, reality. Pluto, control or total transformation. Saturn, tradition, conservative. Let me see the 9th card. Saturn and Pluto are both in traditional, conservative Capricorn. And they're going to be, Pluto especially, is going to be hovering right around this cusp, along with Saturn. Saturn moves more quickly, and so it will retrograde back into the 8th house, but it will wind up on the ninth cusp with Pluto during this year. And as Saturn moves into the ninth house in 2020, Pluto will too at a slower rate. But Pluto rules total change. Saturn wants to keep the status quo. Pluto wants to control or totally transform. Once again, Saturn likes to keep the status quo. Now, Venus, love and money, sits on our south node on the 7th, the day after the 3 celestial events occur, in the ninth house of foreign trade. So Venus, while it's a blessing, Venus is the lesser benefic, it's money, and it can be overdoing. On the south node, we may be spending more for our goods and services overseas in order to get them. So even though we think, oh goody, that's such a good thing, Venus, oh, it can be overindulgence and overspending. On the 13th, Venus is on our midheaven, and our public image is one of love. And isn't that lovely? At a time when we really, really need it. It can be overdoing a good thing. You know, the negative of Venus is overdoing. If one is good, two is better. Now, when Venus sits on our midheaven, which it will on the 13th, our public image, as I said, is one that we would love. The 10th house deals with the president, and so he's feeling real good about himself and probably taking credit for a lot of good things that he's done. And on the 17th, the moon is triggered by Venus. Venus sits on the moon, and there can be a change, a loving change in the approach that our government takes, as exemplified by the president. So, this is my forecast for March. I had about 30 minutes more information, detailed information to share, but I think I've given you the bottom line so that you can go forth and be happy. And speaking of that, I want to share something. Saturn brings reality, and it's moving up toward the top of our chart. In 2022, Saturn will be at the very top of the United States chart. It solidifies us. When people have Saturn on their midheaven, I tell them that they are at the top of their game. And so Saturn on the midheaven tells me that we will have solidified and regrouped and reclaimed our former position as a strong leading country in 2022. And then Saturn, of course, will sit on the moon, and there can be a certain amount of change made there. But Saturn on your midheaven, think back to when Saturn was on your midheaven last time. You were at the top of your game. The midheaven is the cusp of the 10th house. It rules your career, your public image, and Saturn is strength. The United States midheaven is Aquarius, the sign of the humanitarian. And Saturn co-rules Aquarius. Uranus rules Aquarius too. Uranus is the rebel that says, let's bust loose. Saturn says, let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. Let's be innovative and combine tradition with innovation. So, dear friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this Trumpology report. Come back again next month when I tell you all about April in Trump's chart and the United States chart. And so till then, it is my sincere wish that the stars shine brightly on you and yours. And if you need your own personal reading, you get in touch with me. Bye for now.